Hi, I'm Ewing. You're tuned to Forbidden Planet TV, and I'm here to talk about We Only Find Them When They're Dead, the deluxe edition.
Welcome to Forbidden Planet TV. I'm Andrew Sumner. I'm here with the one and only Al Ewing. How are you today,
Hello,
mate?
I'm good. I'm doing all right. Doing
Yeah,
pretty good.
mate, that's good to hear. We're very pleased to be supporting. I'm really looking forward to the deluxe hardcover editions that are coming in October of your excellent Boom series. We only find them when they're dead.
Yeah, that's
Which is coming out in two editions. So there's a lovely hardcover edition, and then there's a super nice slipcase hardcover edition as well. So that book's very much getting the treatment it deserved now.
yeah. So, and this is like the kind of the omnibus thing. It's all of it
Yeah,
together. That was always kind of how I think from the start. That was kind of how it was planned. It was like it's why it's sort of 15 issues and three books.
yeah.
Um, and in the end, it sort of tell this one big story. Um, so yeah, it's really nice kind of seeing it kind of get that treatment. Um, and hopefully people who enjoyed it, in its original iteration will kind of I believe this has a fairly comprehensive timeline um in it, in that I remember fairly recently sitting down with sort of the timeline from the pitches for each kind of book, and from the and seeing what fell where in like the finished things. Um, but I remember kind of doing a full timeline for Eric to go into one of the collected editions. So this might be that. Um, so if you are confused by the timeline, this might be the one to get.
Yeah,
Uh,
and knowing the way fans of the larger collected editions work, you get a bunch of readers who are approaching it for the first time in this format. So for those people, what would be your how would you describe the concept of the series and what they'll be finding?
I mean the elevator pitch of it, I guess, is and this was the original idea. This was like the idea that came to me that I was sort of sitting on for a few years before I kind of took it to Boom. Um, was that basically in the future, these vast godlike entities kind of drift into human space, drift into the edge of our galaxy. Um, and they're these massive humanoid gods, but they're always dead. They these giant interstellar corpses that sort of float into our reality and are then mined and autopsied for uh new alien metals, minerals, chemicals, and the meat, like the
Yes.
the luxury meat is like this kind of. So there's this thing where it's sort of, and these gods are sort of it's kind of what's keeping human society running in a sense, and that it's sort of they're providing us like these kind of uh large amounts of these very unique metals. Um, but also, they're providing a lot of luxuries, a lot of luxury goods. Um, so it's kind of, and basically, we kind of start things off with one of the captains of these autopsy ships that sort of break down these giant corpses and kind of turn them into luxury goods. Uh, Basically, wants to find a living one.
Yeah.
wants to kind of fly out to where they come from and find it's alive. And basically, the whole of the three books are the consequences of that decision playing out over, I think, about 200 or 300 years of time in this universe. I think it's about 200. It's like every gap between the books is about 40 or 50 years.
Yeah.
So when we kind of, and there's one character who goes through the whole thing, and he starts out as a young man and he ends up very old. But like, we also kind of see the growth of certain technologies based on the gods through this time. We see where those end up. We kind of see how the gods, affect things philosophically, religiously, politically. It starts off book one. Book one was kind of what I originally pitched. It was like that's a very sort of personal story, and it's quite elegant. But by the time it sort of starts very personal, it ends very personal. But it takes this kind of journey through these vast society scale events, like universe wide events. Like a big part of the plot of all three books is a galactic civil war on various fronts. Uh, based on various separatist factions. And it's like this is, if you hopefully what I've managed to do, and what me and Simone Di Meo managed to do, who is the kind of the graphical half of this book, was very much a two-person thing, and that it was like Simone's end of it was the design, and he'd always take things. I'd come up with these stretches of history, and these vast like, well, here's what's happening with the separatists over here, and here's what's happening with these people. And Simone would be like, okay, well, based on that, this is what the fashion looks like. This is what the design of the spaceships looks like. The whole design of the universe from soup to nuts was Simone, and so yeah, it's and if I've said to him if he ever wants to do a book four
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
its own, because we did end up creating something like about 400 years of history in this alternate universe. So it's like, um, I don't want to give too much away, but we do look forward as well
Yeah.
as we look back in book one and we look forward in book three, and it's like there's a lot there to play with and a lot there to set stories in. If and if I've said to Simone, if he ever wants to do anything like, it's he owns half the property, so it's like, yeah, go for it, do whatever you like.
I mean, his
Uh,
artwork is just so utterly beautiful in this book.
yes, it makes it. It's like it wouldn't be what it is without his artwork. It is absolutely. I feel like it's really kind of, and just sort of seeing him evolve through the book as well, because it's like this was something like 2 or 3 years of our lives. It came out at the pace it came out because we were both putting a lot into it,
Yeah.
like a lot. It's probably one of my big foibles as a writer is perfectionism, and
Which is a good foible to have, mate. Let's
yeah,
be
yeah, yeah.
honest.
But it's like it's one of the things that slows me down. And I was very much my perfectionist streak was kind of in full flow on We Only Find Them. I did kind of, and it's why it ended up being such a kind of quite a sort of convoluted history, Um, I think having the whole thing on the shelf, in a slipcase or whichever, it's going to be good because you can sort of, you can flip back and forth. You can sort of compare things with the timeline. You can kind of. I don't think it's possible to sort of set all the pages out in chronological order,
Yeah.
but you could read it chronologically if you wanted to.
Yeah. It,
That would
it,
be doable.
it's a great fucking book, mate. It really is a great piece of work. And one of the things that I love about it is, for all of its multi-generational, Kirby inflected at times cosmicity, it feels like, which is, the cosmic is a thing you're known for being good at and are very good
Yeah.
at as a storyteller. But for all of that, it feels immensely personal as an experience when you read it.
I mean, it's all through the eyes of. It's kind of started, and it's right from the start. It's sort of through the eyes of individuals. It's history seen through the eyes of individual people, and it's like there are characters in it who are incredibly important. Like one of the characters is sort of, essentially the president of space. It's like the
Yeah,
kind of the head of the council, the galactic government. Um, but and you get to see that person, you get to kind of hear him talk, but it's always slightly removed. You're always kind of actually living it through sort of underlings and people he's tasked. It's like, I guess the closest you get to that kind of like, universe shaking power figure is Bristow, um, who's one of the characters. You kind of get to see him rise from where he begins to where he ends up, and it's like, but everybody else is kind of. I think he's the most powerful figure who gets like a kind of, you really get in his head in any
yeah,
real kind of way. Uh, so it is this kind of galactic history through the eyes of certainly like important figures, influential figures, like people who, you know, change history, but also people who don't. I kind of, there was one character who was very much in the last book, who's Denkeo, who's very much kind of, his role is to be swept along by the tide,
yeah.
kind of, rather than to kind of really affect things. Um, and you could say the same about the character Jason Howard, the character who kind of is the one character who's in all three books. Um, unless you count, well, I'm starting to give stuff away, but
Yeah,
he's the one. He's the one human character who's in all three
yeah,
books.
right on. Yeah,
But like, you could say that he's an example of somebody who's sort of swept along by history, but he also, at certain junctures, he manages to affect things in very. He's always got a very important role to play wherever he is, but at the same time, he's not controlling events; he's controlled by them. So I guess it's about that. It's about the difference between individual agency and just how far your ability to kind of affect the tide of history goes.
I think that is very well said and fascinating. And both of these beautiful deluxe collections of this fantastic piece of work can be pre-ordered from the links attached to our conversation. And thanks for taking that time out to go into the backstory and the overarching concepts of the book. I think it's something that will reward anybody who's a fan of your work, anybody who's a fan of the cosmic, anybody who's looking for something different. I think it ticks all of those boxes. And thanks for joining me to talk about it, mate.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Take care, brother. I'll see you soon.
All right. See ya.
If you're enjoying watching Forbidden Planet TV and you're enjoying watching us talk to the world's most interesting and accomplished filmmakers, authors, artists, musicians, creators, subscribe right here. See you soon.